gotten over. You and Bird had a fight. I was at the game.
Really?
I was there. And
Call that a fight?
It was right in front of me.
Call that a
well,
fight?
you got in a punch. His arms are getting held back.
You call that a fight?
First
Come
of all,
on. Do you call that a fight? Really?
a punch
Really?
landed.
Oh, it was like 3 jabs.
Larry Bird was a great trash talker. And he's like, Charles, y'all better get this old man off me. I'm telling you. And he's just roasting Doc.
Yeah.
I'm telling you for the last time, you better get over here because I'm going to kill this old man. And it goes on up and down. And Larry just killing him. And Doc had just had enough.
Julius Erving just named 5 players who made his life a living hell. And when a man they call doctor talks about pain, you better believe he's talking about the kind that leaves scars. These weren't just opponents. These were specialists in making the most graceful player in basketball history look human. Each one was a master at breaking something different about his game. And what's wild is how Dr. J survived them all. Let's start with the defensive nightmare, Michael Cooper. A name that might not ring bells like Magic or Kareem, but ask Dr. J about him and watch his expression change. Cooper wasn't built to score 30 points. He was built for one purpose: stop Julius Erving, and he was terrifyingly good at it. Cooper had this spindly frame, 6'7", with arms that seemed to stretch forever. He could hand check, he could redirect, he could make you second-guess every move before you even made it. Erving said it himself. Playing the Lakers meant dealing with Cooper, and Cooper was always regarded as a great defensive player. That's putting it mildly. Cooper turned defense into an art form. He didn't just guard you. He studied you, anticipated you, and then erased you from the game plan. The thing about Cooper was his intelligence. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but he understood angles better than anyone. He'd use his length to funnel drivers exactly where he wanted them. And in an era where hand-checking was legal, Cooper used every inch of contact the rules allowed. He'd get his hand on your hip, steer you baseline, and suddenly you're facing a double team with nowhere to go. For a player like Erving who thrived on improvisation and open space, Cooper was suffocating. He took away the freedom that made Dr. J special. The 76ers and Lakers met in the finals 3 times in 4 years, 1980, 1982, and 1983. And in those first 2 matchups, Cooper was the spider in the web. He funneled Erving toward Kareem, denied him the ball, forced him into uncomfortable spots. But there's one play that defines their entire rivalry. January 5th, 1983, regular season game at the Spectrum. Erving steals a pass and breaks into open court. Most defenders would have given up the layup. Not Cooper. He sprinted back, convinced he could make the greatest block of all time. That's what he said later. He actually believed he could stop Dr. J in transition. Erving gathered the ball, cuffed it against his wrist, and then did something that became legendary. He rocked it, like a baby going to sleep. Swung his arm in this exaggerated cradle motion while Cooper closed in. Then he exploded to the rim and dunked over him. Cooper ducked his head at the last second, realizing he was beaten. The crowd went insane. And Erving? He said it just came out of his arsenal of offensive tricks, no planning. Pure instinct. That's the thing about Cooper. He pushed Erving to reach into places even he didn't know existed. What made Cooper truly dangerous was his motor. He never stopped. Even when Erving beat him on one possession, Cooper would be right back in his face the next time down. No complaints to the refs, no hanging his head, just relentless professional defense possession after possession. And when the Sixers tried to run their fast break, Cooper was already sprinting back, filling the lane, taking away the easy bucket. He turned every offensive possession into work. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Who do you think was tougher to face? The defensive specialist who lived to lock you down? Or the trash talker who got in your head while dropping 40 on you? Let me know. Now let's talk about the guy Erving truly disliked. Larry Bird. This wasn't manufactured hate. This was real, organic, visceral. Erving has been crystal clear about this. He never liked Larry Bird, and unlike some rivalries that mellow with time, this one was built on genuine friction. Bird and Erving were both small forwards, both leading their teams, both dominating the Eastern Conference, but they were opposites in every way that mattered. Erving was the aerial artist, the symbol of urban cool, the man who made basketball look like jazz. Bird was the grounded technician from French Lick, Indiana, cerebral, calculated, and colder than a Midwest winter. They played the same position, fought for the same titles, and couldn't stand each other. The Celtics and Sixers rivalry from 1980 to 1987 was war. Pure, unfiltered basketball war. And at the center of it were these two. Erving put it plainly, you're not supposed to get along. He looked at Magic and Isaiah being friends, Magic and Bird eventually bonding, and he saw it as soft. For him, the Celtics were the enemy. Bird was the face of that enemy, and there was no room for friendship. Bird admitted he was scared before playing Erving. scared that if he didn't perform, Erving would dominate him. That's respect mixed with terror. But Bird channeled that fear into performances that slowly eroded Erving's dominance. The contrast in their styles made every matchup fascinating. Erving wanted to run, to get out in transition, to finish above the rim with style. Bird wanted to slow it down, control the tempo, pick you apart with precision passes and impossible shots. When these two forces collided, something had to give, and more often than people remember, it was Erving who had to adjust. Bird's rebounding was elite. He averaged nearly 11 boards per game against the Sixers. That meant fewer fast break opportunities for Philly. Bird's passing was surgical. He'd freeze defenders with pump fakes, then hit cutters for easy layups. That forced Erving to stay home on defense instead of gambling for steals. Then came November 9th, 1984. Boston Garden, Celtics hosting the Sixers. Bird was on fire. By the third quarter, he had 42 points. Erving had 6. Bird, never one to stay quiet, started taunting him, repeating the score, 42-6. Over and over. Erving snapped. An offensive foul call on Bird led to a skirmish, and suddenly the two legends were grabbing each other. There's a famous photo of Erving's hand around Bird's throat, the dignified Dr. J choking Larry Bird. Punches flew, both were ejected. Erving later explained that it was years of tension finally erupting. Bird was relentless. He didn't just beat you. He broke you down mentally, emotionally, and then reminded you of it with every shot he made. Look at the numbers. In 44 regular season matchups, Bird averaged 23.8 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 6.2 assists. Erving, 22.0 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. Bird had the edge across the board. His rebounding kept Erving from running in transition. His passing forced Erving to stay glued on defense instead of roaming for steals. Bird neutralized everything that made Erving special, and in the playoffs, they traded blows. 1980, Sixers win. 1981, Celtics win. 1982, Sixers win. 1985, Celtics win. It was a dead heat until Bird hit his absolute peak in the mid-80s, right when Erving started to decline. Bird wasn't just tough. He was the mirror image that showed Erving his own limitations. And that's why Erving never liked him. But if Bird was the rival Erving disliked, there was one he revered. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. When asked who the best player he ever faced was, Erving didn't hesitate. Kareem. He was always in the way. Think about that phrase. Always in the way. It's literal and metaphorical. Literally, Kareem was 7'2", lurking in the paint, blocking the airspace Erving needed to operate. Every drive Erving made had to account for Kareem. Every layup had to be adjusted. The famous baseline move in the 1980 finals where Erving went behind the backboard and scooped the ball in from the other side? That wasn't creativity for creativity's sake. That was survival. Kareem and Mark Landsberger had the front of the rim covered. Erving had to go around. But metaphorically, Kareem was in the way of Erving's championships. The Lakers beat the Sixers in the 1980 finals, 4-2. Then again in 1982, 4-2. Both times, Kareem was the anchor. His skyhook was unstoppable. His presence changed the geometry of the entire court. Erving said if he were starting a franchise, Kareem is the guy he'd pick, not Moses Malone, who he won a championship with. Kareem. That's the level of respect we're talking about. Erving knew that going through Kareem was impossible. You had to go around him, over him, behind him. And even then, he might still block you. The psychological weight of facing Kareem cannot be overstated. Every time Erving saw that Lakers uniform, he knew the path to the basket went through the greatest center in basketball history. The skyhook was unblockable. Kareem's timing on defense was perfect. His length affected shots even when he didn't block them. And his consistency was maddening. Night after night, year after year, Kareem delivered. There was no off game. No night where you could catch him sleeping. He was always there, always in the way, always making you earn every single point. It wasn't until 1983, when the Sixers added Moses Malone, that they finally broke through. Moses could battle Kareem directly. The Sixers swept the Lakers 4-0. Erving finally got his ring, but the fact that it took a dominant center to beat Kareem shows just how much of an obstacle he was. Kareem wasn't just a rival, he was the final boss, the unmovable object standing between Erving and basketball immortality. And even after beating him, Erving never stopped respecting what Kareem represented. Perfection, inevitability, the ceiling of what a basketball player could be. Now we get to the two guys Erving had to hate. And I mean actually hate. Not dislike like Bird. Hate. Bernard King and Adrian Dantley. Erving admitted this openly. He said with those guys, he had to learn how to hate them to fare better against them. This wasn't personal. It was psychological. A tool he created to match their intensity. Because King and Dantley didn't just play basketball, they waged war. And if Erving didn't match that energy, they'd destroy him. Start with Bernard King. King had this look when he stepped on the court, like he wanted to kill somebody, No smiles, no small talk. Just pure, focused aggression. Erving compared him to Kobe Bryant in terms of killer mentality. King studied the game scientifically. He had a grid system, specific spots on the floor where he knew he could score, and he'd batter you physically to get to those spots. For Erving, who relied on length and anticipation, King was a nightmare. King would back him down, use his shoulder to create space, and rise up for turnaround jumpers that were nearly impossible to contest. Erving said King would run you into the ground. The physical toll of guarding him took away from Erving's offensive game. In 1984, King averaged over 40 points per game in the first round of the playoffs. 40. That's the level of dominance we're talking about. And when the Sixers faced the Knicks, Erving had to manufacture hate just to keep up. He had to convince himself that King was the enemy, that this wasn't just basketball, it was survival. King's approach was methodical and brutal. He'd establish position on the block, wait for the ball, and then go to work. Every possession was a test of will. Could you hold your ground? Could you deny him his spot? Could you contest without fouling? Most of the time, the answer was no. King's footwork was impeccable. His ability to create separation was elite. And once he got going, there was no stopping him. The points just kept coming. And for Erving, whose game was built on elegance and flow, matching King's physicality meant abandoning everything that made him special. Then there's Adrian Dantley. If King was a blunt instrument, Dantley was a surgeon, a 6'5" forward who played in the post, and led the league in scoring multiple times. Dantley averaged over 30 points per game in 1981, but it wasn't how many points he scored. It was how he scored them. Dantley was a master of drawing fouls. Pump fakes, lean-ins, crafty angles. He once made 28 free throws in a single game. 28. For Erving, who thrived on rhythm and flow, this was torture. Every possession turned into a free throw parade. The clock stopped constantly. The Sixers couldn't run. The game became disjointed, slow, painful, and Dantley's efficiency was maddening. He'd shoot over 55% from the field, at 80% from the line. His true shooting percentage was consistently over 600. Even when Erving played perfect defense for 23 seconds, Dantley would contort his body, draw a foul, and score 2 points. It was demoralizing. And on top of that, Dantley was stronger than Erving. Despite being shorter, he'd back Erving into the low block, using his body to clear space. Erving, who preferred defending on the perimeter, was forced into wrestling matches in the paint. He said he never particularly cared for playing against Dantley. That's code for I hated every second of it. Dantley broke Erving's rhythm, disrupted his flow, and turned beautiful basketball into a grind. And the only way Erving could compete was to abandon his gentlemanly persona and adopt a mindset of hate. Not because Dantley did anything wrong, but because that's what it took to survive. The mental preparation required for Dantley was exhausting. Erving had to tell himself that this player, who by all accounts was a decent person off the court, was someone he needed to hate. That level of psychological manipulation takes a toll, but it was necessary. Because if Erving showed up with his normal gracious attitude, Dantley would score 40, and the Sixers would lose. So Erving manufactured animosity. He convinced himself that Dantley was the villain, and only then could he compete at the level required to slow him down. So here's the final question. 5 rivals. 5 different forms of hell. Cooper, the defensive specialist who made every possession a struggle. Bird, the mirror image who challenged Erving's dominance in the East. Kareem, the unmovable titan who blocked the path to championships. King, the relentless force who demanded physical combat. And Dantley, the rhythm killer who turned games into free throw contests. Each one tested a different part of Erving's game. Each one forced him to evolve, adapt, and dig deeper than he thought possible. And through it all, Erving survived. He won his championship. He built his legacy, not by avoiding these rivals, but by enduring them. What's remarkable is how Erving adapted his mental approach for each one. Against Cooper, he had to be creative and instinctive. Against Bird, he had to embrace the hatred and channel it. Against Kareem, he had to accept that some obstacles can't be overcome alone. Against King and Dantley, he had to manufacture emotions that didn't come naturally. That versatility, that ability to reshape his psychology based on the opponent, is what separated Erving from other greats. He wasn't just physically gifted, he was mentally flexible. And here's what makes this list so powerful. Erving didn't pick the flashiest names or the players with the most championships. He picked the ones who made him work hardest, the ones who kept him up at night, the ones who forced him to question whether his style of play could survive in the brutal ecosystem of 1980s basketball. Every single one of these rivals represented a threat to his identity as a player. Cooper threatened his offensive freedom. Bird threatened his position as the best forward in the East. Kareem threatened his championship dreams. King and Dantley threatened his ability to maintain composure and grace under pressure. So, which one do you think was the toughest? Was it the guy who defended him best? The guy he disliked most? The guy he respected most? Or the guys he had to hate just to compete? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because understanding who challenged Dr. J tells us more about greatness than any highlight reel ever could. These 5 players didn't just compete against Julius Erving. They defined him,